So welcome, everybody, to the Dr. Dan Indianapolis Holy Divine Healing Workshop. I'm thankful for your being here today. And also welcome to everybody on our teleconference. Thank you for joining us and participating in this holy process. I wanted to share a story with you before we start and turn it over to Dan because I thought it was relevant to the journey that we're all on. And it came to me the other night. I was remembering an experience I had about 6 or 7 years ago when I attended a workshop that was being hosted by Dr. Sue Morter, who some of you may know. She's an amazing healer here in Indianapolis, and she works nationally and internationally. And her father, Ted Morter, created the bioenergetic synchronization technique, which is actually a technique that Dr. Dan learned and he trained under Dr. Morter when he was first starting out. So talk about coming full circle. So I was at one of Sue's workshops, and we were just getting ready to do a large group meditation. And there were hundreds of people there. And I was just convinced that I was just going to go blasting up into the heavens. And I happened to look up, and I noticed the ceiling was this ornate plaster stuff. And I thought, well, I wonder if it's going to rain plaster all over when I go blasting away. I was convinced I was going to have this amazing multidimensional experience. And then we went into the meditation, and a funny thing happened. Instead of me blasting up into the heavens descended down around me. And I was surrounded by a group of holy beings. I was in the middle of the circle. And as I looked at these beings, one of them stepped forward and started walking towards me. And I recognized it as my mother, who had passed away about 30 years prior. She was very young when she was. And she stepped up to me, and telepathically, we just instantly got all caught up on everything that had happened in the past 30 years. And it felt so wonderful. And then she started stepping back into the circle, but she stopped, and she looked at me, and she said one final thing. What she said to me was, "You take care." And then she was gone, and the experience was over. And we just started, so come on in. So I remembered that the other night because we've all been walking this path in our own way for, some of us, a long time now. And the truth of the matter is we all get to get it, every one of us. And so I want to thank all of you for having the courage to step into the unknown and to do your own inner healing work and to share it with the world. And I want to thank Dr. Dan for helping make my journey not only colorful and fun, but far more graceful than it would have otherwise been. I am blown away by the depth at which he's able to touch me now when he works with me. Levels of my psyche that I've never had access to, deep and meaningful ways that I can't even really find words to explain anymore. But the truth of the matter is, we're getting there, and it's amazing and beautiful and profound. So with that, I want to thank you, Dan, for everything you've done for me and for everyone else, and let's give him a big welcome.
Right. Well, thank you, Diane. That's yeah, that was very awesome. And I thank everyone here this evening for showing up and having interest in this this phenomenon called the Holy O. I'm going to tell you a story about all this, and I love it if you have questions. So just raise your hand, and it'll help keep us all connected, because a lot of people have the same question you do. So the brave ones ask it. And this is just a little about me. I'm from Arkansas, born and raised. I I was 18 before I got out of the state for the first time, and that's just because I missed the Fort Smith exit on the freeway. So I'm pretty down home kind of guy, I guess. But anyway, I've always been into people. Always loved people. I've always been a people person, and my whole family's like that. We're a family of preachers and salesmen. There's not a person in the family that knows how to use a screwdriver or any of that stuff. So we're not into inanimate objects, but we like people. And so I got into the healing arts, became a chiropractor, did that for quite a long time. I guess I got started about 82, actually being a chiropractor. And about, 15 years or so into that journey, I have a mother-in-law that's got a bay house in South Alabama, and while on our vacation in '94, the last day, I had a heat stroke and went down the rabbit hole to the other side of the veil, and I had a telepathic encounter with crystal light beings, and I got zapped with light, and back in the tunnel and came back to the earth. And I was very excited to come back to the earth because now I was going to get to do my sacred path, and I knew that. And I'll never forget, right before I came back onto the earth, the Holy Order of Life told me that everybody had been put on this earth to learn to trust in your inner holiness. That's what the whole earth trip is about. It's learning to trust in your inner holiness. And whether you're doing that or not, it doesn't matter what you say. It's your feelings. And if you're doing anxiety, worry, fear, depression, anger, critical, cynical, doubtful, you're demonstrating that you don't trust in your inner holiness. You're trying to do it yourself. And that's not a good thing, and you're going to understand why just a little bit when we get to that part of this. What I'm going to tell you tonight is information that a lot of you have never heard, and I want to tell you before things start going over your head that this is a simple thing. This is like growing a garden. You don't have to know what the seed knows to do that. You just have to know when to plant, how to plant, and how to take care of a plant, and you get a bountiful harvest. It's the same kind of thing. So I'm going to tell you a lot of technical stuff that's more about the information that the seed knows, but you don't have to know all of that. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. And so we're going to start at your conception, the very instant that you arrived on this earth plane, basically 9 months before your date of birth. At that instant, all of a sudden, when that ovum and sperm of your mom and dad fused, boom, all of a sudden, you're here. You're one cell of flesh. That one cell is pulsating, and there's a full-grown, complete, adult-sized energy field around that one cell that the one cell grows into as you become an adult. So there is this trinity of your wholeness, and it is the cell, the pulse, and the energy field. And these three things identify what they are. The cell is your soul body, the pulse is your spirit body, and the pulse is your divine presence, and the energy field is your spirit body. And all three of these aspects of your being keep records. And the records that I read are the ones of the spirit body, the energy field. And just a little bit more about that body. The reason that I like to read that body is because all 7 levels of your consciousness are an integrated part of your energy field. And so that's the part of the Trinity that's actually who you are. And you have always been the same one you are right now. And it was created at the dawn of creation. Everybody is the same boat. And you've always been the same energy field as you are right now. It has recorded everything. And the story I'm going to tell you tonight is from those records. And Each and every one of you carry a full set. So you're going to get to take it all home with you and with an awareness that you've got all these records. But what the records actually tell us is that for 5 times longer than you've been human, you were a holy being. You were a holy being of the Holy O. You were created in the geometry of the Holy O. The Holy O creates loving feelings and the thoughts that go with loving feelings and gives you the ability to share this O with others so that you can feel how they feel, think their thoughts, share their reality. An incredible way that keeps us in integrity, honor, and high regard of one another. And when we're like this, we get to perceive and manifest from the knowing of our 100% conscious inner holiness. That's the being that we were created to be. We were a being of the Holy O that had a vessel that had 13 parts within our vessel. And these 13 parts, they worked homogeneously, and as their team effort blessed us to be a holy being, to have a knowing consciousness and an eternal life. And for about 700 million years, we lived on this earth as a being of the Holy O, just like I told you, in a 13-dimensional matrix called heaven on earth. That was our playground. And 700 million years into that, we got to the point that we wanted an expansion of our playground, not understanding that you cannot add to a matrix. You have to disassemble it and make another one. You have to go through that bother. And so we gained a lot of understanding we didn't have when we knew everything. By crashing this thing down, going into the first paradigm, and then finding our way back home is what we've been doing. And you see, this being that we was called Holy O Fame because all the parts were the same. There was no hierarchy. This being that we was, our vessel, received these 5 fractures, and our parts were broken, and they came outside our vessel, and then they were spectrumized on a totem pole called the hierarchy of one. Everybody has a hierarchy of one. And at the top of your hierarchy of one is your God particle, followed by your Elohim particle, your Archangel, Angel, Ascended Master, Earth Goddess, Crystal of Knowing, Crystal of Love, Divine Intervention, Cosmic Consciousness, and then the fifth, fourth, and third dimensions of the soul body. And then at the very bottom, beneath all of that, was this empty, fractured vessel known as self. And to be of self is the human condition. And the perception of self is always from inside its vessel looking out at the outer world through its fractures. And anytime self is at odds with the world that it lives in, it's always going to blame the outer world thing it's reacting to as being at fault. But it's actually the fracture that it's looking through that causes it to have an illusion that upsets it. And also, when our vessel got fractured at the downfall, our ego body, which was at peacetime, which means it was obedient to Divine Mother and the servant of the other 2 bodies of the soul body. The soul body has got these 3 specialty bodies, an ego, an inner child, and an adult body. And the ego's purpose was to be the servant of the inner child body of our soul, which is our source of joy and happiness, and to be the servant of our adult body. And our adult body is the part of us that has rational judgment and discernment. And the ego body fit right into that perfectly. Well, when our vessel got fractured, the ego body went to wartime, which is to become the protector of your flesh by seizing control of your consciousness through its belief. And the tool of the ego of wartime is fear, the warden of all negative feelings. So that's the human condition. is to have an empty, fractured vessel that's controlled and dominated by your ego at wartime. Sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's miserable, actually. And, just like, and so anytime in life that you have issues, you try to do it yourself or fix it yourself, you're coming from your empty, fractured vessel. It is the least rational of all possible choices to turn any project over to. And it usually comes with a trip to the butt-kicking line, the boot. So it's really not a fun thing to do. Well, there's another option. There's another fork in the road. And this other fork in the road is actually one of the three levels of consciousness that we lost when we went from being a holy being to a human being. We actually have 7 levels of consciousness. The first 4 that we use in the human experience are the unconscious, the subconscious, the conscious, and the mass conscious. And then the 3 that we don't use in the human experience, only in a holy order, is Christ consciousness, cosmic consciousness, and goddess consciousness. And you see, it's this level called Christ consciousness that allows us to reconnect with our inner holiness so that we can be shown, told, and led in the moment, on the fly, in a knowing consciousness realm, which is 100 times better than in belief. And this is what we have to learn to do now. Instead of trying to do it yourself, you learn to pause and to practice the parable of being a Christed being. And once you learn how to ride that bicycle, it's the most joyous day in your life. It's when it gets easy. And everybody can do this if you'll just persist beyond the learning curve. And I have these cards up here, and on the back of the card are the 6 steps of Christ consciousness. And what I recommend you do is take a card, and every morning before you leave the house, you state these 6 steps as your intention of the day. And it'll go something like this. Lord of my being, today I accept all issues in my life as my own. I now forgive myself for any harm caused of the times I've tried to do it myself. And I now surrender the whole 9 yards to you, my inner holiness, as I yield to your will in my life. I'm going to show up in my day and take my next step in trusting you, my inner holiness. And I don't have to understand anything about what's around the corner, and I'm asking for guidance. And then you go live your day. Well, if you do that every morning in about 10 to 14 days, you're going to start getting an inner prompting that you need to edit a few of these steps to suit you better. That's the moment that you now own this parable. And so you're ready for part 2, which is to take it into your day with you. And when things go south, instead of trying to fix it yourself, do it yourself, pause, you do the parable in the way that your inner holiness told you to, and you just open the door for miracles to come into your life. Your cup will overflow with goodness. You'll be led through all the torturous paths. You get a daily wow factor that will knock your socks off and keep you amazed. You always get more than you ever thought was possible when you become willing to accept the goodness of your inner holiness in any method or form that it wants to come forth into life. That's always very surprising how that works. It makes so much difference in life to be able to do that. It is your birthright, being a holy being, to be able to do the parable. And, every step of this path, I was given the vision to get started down the yellow brick road. But guess what? I wasn't given the second step. I had to find out what that was through taking my step in trust. And that's exactly what you got to do. If you'll show up in your day and take your next step in trusting your inner holiness, I promise you amazing things are going to happen. They'll happen for everyone. Any questions about any of this so far? Is it making sense?
And Dr. Dan, by Christ consciousness, you're not referring to a religious model.
No, not at all. Not at all. And, back to self for just a moment. Because the parts of self are outside of it, it doesn't have any knowing. And it also doesn't have eternal life. It has a mortal soul, and it has a belief consciousness. And so, and part of belief consciousness is programming by authority. And self has been programmed that it's the descendants, that it is the descendant of original sinners like Adam and Eve, and therefore never knew a holy order. And plus, if your largest conception of a reality is a universe, then you are stuck in the patriarchal model of one, and your head's against the ceiling.
Which is the model of separation and suffering and limitation.
Yeah, it is. There's 5 of these models. One's patriarchal, 2's matriarchal. 2.14 is the universal cosmic ratio imbalance. 6 is the bipolar particle, and 16 is contamination through the mass constant. These are the 5 fractures of our vessel, and all 5 of these test out as alien invaders. They are not indigenous to the 9 clusters of the all that is of the Holy O. And you see, that's where this universe came from. It was actually a component of a feminine universe. And this particular one where we're at, this is the first cluster. This is the Holy O Earth cluster, and it's 76 universes, O-N-I instead of a U-N-I, how you spell it. And all of the O's were interlocked. It made like this big ball, and the whole ball is called the Holy O Earth cluster. Well, there's 8 additional clusters, and altogether there's over 62 million universes, and each one of them is 10 times bigger than this universe. So that's an incredible expansion of the model of what's real, what reality is all about. And when we were the being of the Holy O, we were connected to this 9 cluster. It was the order and the timing and all of the events of this 9 cluster that blessed us with our intelligence and our knowing consciousness. We were actually an integration of this. And how we were connected to the 9 clusters. The 9 clusters, we'll see within the 9 clusters, you have planets like ours and solar systems, and then you get to the celestial body of galaxy. And a galaxy, there's 15 galaxies in each cosmos, and there's 763 cosmos in each universe. Then there's 62 million universes in these 9 clusters. Well, the order and the enormity of all of that, we were a part of it. We were integrated into it. We understood all of that. That's who we were. And this is where we're actually headed back to. And the 9 clusters of the all that is come into us through the 9 underworlds that create our unconscious. And our unconscious is what creates our nature. And so when we're connected to the 9 clusters of the all that is, we have the nature of a holy being. When the universe fell out of the feminine universe, we were like totally disconnected from these 9 clusters, and the underworlds of our unconscious became the storage bin of the human carnage that we were generating in the incarnations that we had had leading up to this life back to the downfall, and that's typically 6 to 12 million. So there's a lot of yucky stuff in the underworlds, and it created human nature, which is not a good thing. So to get all that stuff cleaned out and to get reconnected back into the 9 clusters sounds like a lot of work to do, but it's actually just one trip private session, all that stuff that we talked about. But and then, so the big part of that picture, the 9 clusters connecting to our 9 underworlds, and then the small part, the galaxies, the 15, you see this vessel that we had that had 13 parts in it originally? Well, the 13 parts got broke, and to make them whole again, they had to be made a part of a larger model. And for whatever reason, 15 was chosen. A bookend was put at the bottom of the soul and over the God particle. And so the new Holy Osame has 15 parts. And these 15 parts in our vessel connect to these 15 galaxies in this cosmos that connects to the other 763 cosmos of the Sonyverse. It just goes right on up the chain. And so we're connected in 2 places to this apparatus of the 9 cluster, all it is. And so that's a gigantic expansion of who and what we are in the model of the Holy O as compared to being human of self with a broken, fractured vessel. Okay, I got to have some questions. Yes.
So the question is our trust part of the co-creation of miracles with our inner holiness?
Yeah, most definitely, because we're the ones that have to choose. We have to make the choice to accept this, to be a part of this, or not. And so we make choices every day. And you know, reality is where our choices and decisions make a manifestation. And if your manifestation, if it glorifies the holy order, benefits people, makes positive feelings in life, you're on to a good thing. If your choice and decision, you know, makes pain and misery, you know, you got to do some backtracking. The thoughts, feelings, and all that stuff behind the choices and decisions were something that wasn't quite on track. So back to the laboratory on that one. But life is a demonstration, and you get to see your thoughts, your feelings, your choices, and decisions. But it manifests as your life.
So you can tell through your feelings whether you're connected with your inner holiness or not.
Big time, yeah. Because the tool of the ego is fear, the origin of all negative feelings. Anytime in life you have negative feelings, that's the cardinal sign that your ego is running your consciousness, and you're coming from belief and fear. The fear of death is the biggest of all, and it's been really ingrained into people. And it's so amazing. The blessing of Christ consciousness is done on a person. It will purge all expressions of the fear of death out of them. So it's really amazing when we get hooked back up to this stuff and get it integrated into our being, purges amounts of our old world human condition out of us, lightens us up. You know, we can move beyond things that used to be a problem for us, find answers. It's really amazing. And you learn to ride this bicycle of being a Christed being, and there's nothing you can't do. I mean, you're off to the races. Amazing things will happen.
And the fear of death, Dan, is it just the fear of physical death, or is it also the fear of the death of the ego?
There's all forms of that expression, lots of them. And, yeah, that's both of those are true. So the ego body has got to go along for the ride. I mean, it has a very wonderful purpose at peacetime. It's just a matter of us getting our vessel healed, get our ego out of wartime, and then we can get back to the good life. And every single body can do this, you know. It's just like growing the garden. You learn when to plant, how to plant, how to take care of a plant. Seed will take care of the rest of it. And it's the same way with the Holy O, the intelligence of life that makes this happen will make it happen. You just have to be a part of it. Get spliced back into the process. Be connected. Wonderful thing. And the model of O starts at the 13th dimension. The model of one, which is what most all of y'all are familiar with, it started, and every single one of us went through the downfall. We crashed down to the first paradigm, a reality of consciousness of one dimension, by death, killing, and war. And it took forever. I mean, when I worked for 9 years on this sacred path of holy divine healing in the third paradigm before we got the first paradigm shift to occur in 2004. And then we had years where we would have 3 shifts. I mean, can you imagine going from the dawn of time when the great downfall happened to 2004 with only 3 paradigm shifts? Life was pretty boring on Earth, really. And then between 2004 and 2011, we got all the way to the 15th paradigm, 4, 5, 6, right on up the ladder to the 15th paradigm. And then 4 days later, the 69th paradigm came out. 2 days later, the 177th. They started going through this exponential jumps, and then 999. And by May the 6th of 2012, we had gotten all the way to 999 to the power of 7 dimensional paradigm. So it was an incredible expansion that went on this earth really fast. And then we've had so many wonderful reconnections. We finally got out of the old Piscean age. These ages are 5,125 years. And we finally got out of the old Piscean age in December of 2012. It was characterized by a linear timeline in a third dimensional grid. And that makes the earth nurture and support belief consciousness and being dominated by outer authority. And so we went from that old system to this Aquarian age with an exponential time orbit, that had these 10 crystals on it that went from 15 to 999 to the power of 7, anything but linear. And we went from a third dimensional grid to a 999 to the power of 7 dimensional grid. It totally changed the culture of what this earth nurtures and supports. No longer is belief and being controlled by outer authority nurtured or supported by this earth. Now, what is supported and nurtured now is to get out of your head where your fears and beliefs reside, simply open your heart and seek the holy order, and learn to live the parable of being a Christed being. A bazillion times easier than trying to figure it out yourself with an empty, fractured vessel. It ain't happening. This other way, this new way of living is so loving, and you will make the biggest quantum leap, so you can't even imagine how fast and how you will get on the cutting edge of this so fast. It's incredible. This stuff will be purged out of you. Get hooked back up, and life gets really good. All people can do this. No matter man or woman, what continent you're from, or anything else. This is happening on this planet.
Whether you're aware of it or not.
Whether you're aware of it or not. And everybody is tuning in the frequencies of these higher paradigms. It's affecting everybody. And, things have to come up to come out sometimes. It's not always a joyous experience, but you always come to a good place when you purge out something that was really big and toxic to you. Get it out of you. Not as much fun as throwing up, but the results are awesome. The recovery is really wonderful.
So the question is about karma and predetermination and the purging of our being.
Yeah, all the yucky stuff that we hold, most of it comes from your masculine side, that's going to be your ancestral lineage, your grandfathers back to the neutral zone before the dawn of creation. Your feminine side, which is your offspring's matrix, your grandmother back to the dawn of creation. Past life karma, this life's experience, and the biggest one of all is alien invasion. And I'm not talking about little green monsters. I'm talking about these fractures of our vessel. That's the big thing that people carry, and that stuff can be taken off of you really fast. And just a few blessings, and you can clear tremendous amounts of this stuff off of you. So it's a very powerful healing tool we have that will take all this stuff off of you really quick. So it doesn't take long to get, plumb bob and square it and on the cutting edge of higher consciousness. So not that difficult of a thing. The people that have problems with this are people that can't get out of their head. And if you can't, because this is where the ego's belief is, and if you can't open your heart and take your step in trust, you're going to have a hard time with this. But that is by far the easiest thing to do, is to practice the parable. So, and do this.
And courage between ourselves, does that become available in the world around us also?
Yes, it does. It very much does. And applying the truth to yourself is the greatest way in life to affect others. And it's amazing how effective it is. And in relationships, especially between opposite sex, the thing that people that throws you a curveball is that no matter what your gender is, there's feminine and masculine in both genders, and interfacing the opposite sex, it's your opposite sex of your gender that's doing the interfacing there. And women don't think of themselves as men when they're having an encounter with men, or the other way around. But that's the part of our being that either makes it or breaks it. And when people are, they come to me all the time and they're having problems in a relationship, I take them one at a time. It's always, if it's a man and a woman relationship, it'll be the man's feminine part and the woman's masculine part. That's the problem. And, it's not hard to fix. So there's all kinds of good help for any of these kind of issues. But definitely, if you want to help heal the planet, take care of you. That's the first place you start, and it will have profound effects. It's really amazing how much of discord and problem in life that you think is caused by outer world things. When you work on healing your inner being, that stuff disappears. It can't hang on to you anymore. So you really heal life, and you heal your being by doing the parable. So that's what I advocate, and it's about half as hard as learning to ride a bicycle. So if you did the bicycle thing, you can do the parable. Yes.
So the question is about timing as to when the new era may dawn.
The plan of grand design is, as far as I can tell, is only interested in the now. It doesn't do future or past. It's strictly a now thing. So, yeah, I don't get any of that stuff. What they, because I think time's pretty screwed up. They stopped it all together and started numbering them again 2,000 years ago. I mean, that's got to throw something for a curveball. Yeah, and then they made the months of the years are not constants. So there's been a lot of effort put into screwing us up with time. No doubt about it.
Trying to control us. But now that we're out of the linear timeline and into an exponential time orbit, how do you even correlate that?
Yeah. And I think people are starting to awaken that, you can't have a unit of measurement not be a constant. It's like if one year a foot was 13 inches and another year it was 12 or 11, like they do months. Crazy. So, time is a big problem. That's all going to have to be straightened out before long, hopefully. Well, it's really easy. You put 13 months in a year, bam, they're all 28 days. So, there's actually people that keep that calendar anyway. The lunar, it's all a part of the patriarchal to do everything by the sun, and it's a good idea. You can keep the hour of the day, but not the day of the month. You have to use the moon. Get a much more accurate timekeeping mechanism. It actually makes sense. You don't have to start wondering when is Easter next year. You know where it's going to be. It's all over the place. Yes. Yeah. So there's two really big tools that we have to help our journey right now. There's never been a time when the least amount of effort would produce a more gigantic change in your ascension process than that. And one of those reasons is the Aquarian age, and the other one is the photon band that the Earth has now crossed into. And the photon band, it catalyzes and accelerates our efforts to become whole. And it purges all things of fracturing. All things that are fractured get purged. And so that's kind of what I see is happening on the world today. I don't know that there's ever been a time when the cutting change of higher consciousness was growing more rapidly, and at the same time, the other end of the spectrum is really going through a purging. It's not pretty, and so those two things are happening really hard right now. But it's a wonderful time to embark upon an ascension path. And so to heal your physical, emotional beings, that is a wonderful method of to do that, is to participate in the ascension model of healing. Put your parts and pieces back in the vessel and heal your vessel. It does wonders to your life. And just focusing on that and encompassing Christ consciousness, if you could take those two things home with you tonight, that would be awesome. So how are y'all doing with this? Does it make sense? The ones of you that have heard it a few times, it makes a lot more sense. Yeah. The model of O, I was trying to say this a while ago and I got sidetracked. It's really just beyond the model of one. The model of one goes from the first dimension paradigm of death, killing, and war through the 12th. And the 12th is the I am. That's the teachings of Saint Germain. There's lots of ascended masters, and there's Hawthorns, and these different 12th dimensional groups that are wonderful. And yet there's this eye of a needle that are at the very top of the 12th paradigm that you have to go through to get into the 13th. The group healings that we're going to do here in Indy, we're going to do 4 blessings, and 2 of them are specifically designed to get people through this eye of the needle. And the blessing of the grand design of Holy Old Metamorphosis is to metamorphose from the model of one back into the model of O. And that blessing, the 9 pulses of creation of the 9 clusters have been connected to the eye of the needle, and people have been doing their work, and they're the upper end of the model of one up in the 12th paradigm, when the universal pulse comes into its old change point, the polarity of all fractures are reversed, and that causes them to go back into their wholeness so that they can pass on through the eye of the needle into the 13th dimension, which is where the Holy O starts. And so there's reaching out of the Holy O through the model of one to pull people through that eye of the needle. And then there's a Holy O restitution blessing where people are welcomed with open arms back into the Holy O from which they came. And that's a really awesome blessing that gets you started off on a good foot. It's kind of a welcoming wagon. It does a lot of beautiful things. So we're going to have a wonderful time Sunday. I invite you to come to that. And also, if anybody wants a private session, we do have some openings. Or just see Diane about that.
I've been visited twice by Dan, yesterday and today, and I'm just, it's remarkable the depth at which we're able to work now into areas of my psyche and my unconscious things that we have never had access to, we have access to now and can heal. And since he has treated me, it's almost like by the hour I can feel the old weight shedding and coming off. And I feel lighter and lighter and lighter. I don't have a conscious understanding mentally as to what I'm letting go of. You know, like we used to as we start doing this work. Oh, it was the death of my mother and it was the death of my husband. I have no clue what I'm letting go of now, but I can feel a remarkable difference in my being. So that's real good.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting that when working with the Holy O, you have to learn how to ask questions and just focus on individual stuff. You don't get the big picture. If you ask how many aspects of impairment are encompassed in the complex that this person has in the moment, it'll give you a number. It might be 854 or something. And if you had to actually figure out what any of that was, you wouldn't get like 2 or 3 of them. So by learning how to ask open-ended questions, you get a lot more bang for your buck. So it really works a lot better to do it like that than it does to show up with a list of little itemized stuff. You won't get near as much if you take that route. But everybody gets to do what they want. Yes? Well, you know, the interesting thing about the invasion is that it comes from outside the 9 clusters of the all that is. The all that is all there is of the Holy O. And this other stuff comes from the patriarchal, the matriarchal. That stuff comes from outside the 9 clusters. I've never gotten to that. My deal's always been about the 9 clusters. But it is an interesting question. I've wondered the same thing. And I've tried to be nice about it and call it something else, but then it says, no, it's an alien invasion. So
but you don't mean like little green Martians. It's more like a corruption in our matrix.
It's a
like
corruption.
That's
exactly what it is. Yeah, it's like a virus in your computer. It's not supposed to be there. And it was because of, you know, when we had the downfall here, we got breached. And it went viral. It conquered almost like colonization. It took over the earth and institutionalized itself. Pretty wild stuff.
And it's kept us trapped in limited consciousness.
It's kept us trapped in fear and in belief. And we would have stayed there forever had it not been for the courageous light workers that have been pushing this for a long time. Changes that have started, the paradigm shift change and the change of the age. So it's a lot easier than it was when I started 20 years ago. It was really complex.
So, Dr. Dan, the change of the age is important because we're also connected to the cosmos in ways that maybe we can't see with our eyes.
Well, interestingly enough, this trinity of our wholeness, our soul, spirit, and presence. Our presence is the universe, our spirit is the cosmos, and our soul is the galaxy. And there's all of these trinities of wholeness that are all about this. As we sit here in our chair listening to this, the part of your being that you see in the mirror is your soul body. The 15 systems that allow you to be a living person, your cardiovascular, respiratory, digestive, hormonal, these systems are your spirit body. And the pulses that allow you to be living is your divine presence. And so it's all integrated into this being sitting here in this chair. You have that trinity of wholeness. So the same laws of physics and quantum mechanics and all of that apply to galactic law is what our soul's about, what applies to, and here's another one, is that our galactic soul body is expressed in life as a fractal. Our cosmic spirit body is expressed in life as microcosms, and our universal presence is expressed as holograms. So holograms, fractals, and microcosms are the three expressions of the wholeness of life. They encompass galaxy, cosmos, universe, soul, spirit. It's all the same thing. All these interrelationships is what makes us the big picture. We are the 9 clusters. Well, the good part is that I don't have to make up any of those choices. My job is to be the servant of your inner holiness. It does all of the deciding, and it does the work. I just took the gift I was given up to it, given to do this to it. And so the functioning of holy divine healing is always orchestrated by your inner holiness. And when I first started into this, well, when I got back down to, came back from my little heat stroke I had, I got back to my office 2 days later, and I had this lady named Cheryl come in, and she's laying on my table. In chiropractic, we get information from the body through a kinesiology process, leg length evaluation. So asking questions using leg length, and boom, I found out I could connect to her inner holiness by asking yes and no questions and watching the leg length change. So the same way I did it in chiropractically is how I do it in Holy Divine Healing. And I would get these ideals, and usually I was being set up to be humble. This is one of my big ideals. This lady, I asked her, in her holiness, how many causes does she have? 8,428. And I asked, well, how many of those would I have the intellectual capability to comprehend? 13. Yeah, and I went to school till I was 30. But it didn't matter. I was got the mustard doing that. And so started having these out-of-body experiences. One morning I wake up craving a blueberry waffle, and I make it, got all the good ingredients. I took one bite, and I was gone for 2 hours. And when I came back, I knew that if I would let Cheryl's inner holiness orchestrate the process, that it would know how to get rid of every one of those causes. And so when I got back, I got Cheryl back down at the office the next day, and I asked her inner holiness. I said, break this. How many blessings do we need to do to get rid of all 8,428 causes? 2. I removed the fear of death, and it went down to like 117. Then I did the birth of Christ consciousness, boom, it zeroed it up. So it's just amazing if you allow inner holiness to do the work and you just yield to that, what can happen. Amazing things will happen. And you know, everybody has a sacred gift. They're all snowflakes. No two people have the same gift. And the Holy O wants every person to maximize what they are and to come forth. And if you will have the courage to start on this path, you will be tremendously blessed and what's going to happen to you. So it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And it's been the most exciting part of my life, for sure. It's always an honor to get to serve the Holy Lord. Yes. Well, just like you don't experience everything that's wrong with you at once, you don't heal it all at once. And the way that I look at it, everybody has this big wheel. It's like a merry-go-round. It turns, but it turns very slowly, and only a little thin slice of that is going to be your daily experience. All of your crap is on this wheel. It could be ancestral lineage, offspring, matrix, past life, your alien invasions, all of that stuff is going to be on that wheel, and you're only going to experience a small slice of it at a time. And you know how, you're in a certain pattern right now. You woke up the other day, you got this ache or pain or thought, worry, concern, or pet peeve, and then it may last for 2 days, 2 weeks, or 2 months, and then one day you wake up and it's all changed, and you're on to something new and different. Well, your big wheel has just turned a little bit. And so what you got to do is you have to weed a person's garden as their wheel turns. Is what it's like. And you don't want to try to heal everything that's wrong with you at once. You couldn't stand it. You got to chew what you bite off, And so, you see, the private sessions are about reconnecting you to the 7 clusters of the all that is. To work on your vessel, only you and your inner holiness are allowed to go in there. And that's what you do on the internet, on the G-Box. People would call me in an emergency, and I'm backed up for 2 or 3 weeks, so I was no good at an emergency response, and so this was created. If you will go on that website when you're in an emergency and ask your inner holiness to come through your intuitive body and allow it to be known what you need, election, you will choose correctly. And I've had real good results with it. The blessings are $13 a piece, so you can get a good treatment at it won't cost you. It's 24/7 at your convenience.
So what he's referring to is the Holy Divine Healing website. It's got a jukebox set up on it. This place, and they're quantum equations, so they apply to everybody. They affect each. They address each situation. And you can go on there, and through your intuition, you can identify which of those equations help you with whatever you're dealing with in that moment. And then for $13, you can actually without having to actually do a private session again.
On your vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it all works. So anybody got any questions? All clear? Okay.
So she's asking about whether what Dan has brought with him is a higher frequency that allows greater access.
There's a lot of wonderful people that do healing work, and I'm honored to be one of them. I don't really know the answer to your question because I don't know what all other people do. I know what I do, and it seems to help people. But other things do too. I think that people need an entourage of healers in their life. I do that. I have chiropractors, acupuncturists, massage therapists, different people that I love to see that keep me going, and I recommend that for everyone. That you need a crew of people working on it. So it's a smart thing to do. So everybody's gift is a little different, and life loves a bouquet. They're all wonderful. They're all wonderful. Yes.
Question is, why can't Dan go into our 15 parts individually when he works on it?
Because it said I couldn't. Yeah. And it's for good reason, I'm sure. For one thing, people have to step up, and they have to choose. And, you can't always get somebody else to do things for you like that. I go as far as I can, but there comes a point that people have to make their choice. It's necessary. And if you have a hard time doing that, it probably just means you need to practice. Making these choices. Working on that 15-part vessel. So it just takes a little practice working with it. But you got to start somewhere, and it'll work for you. You just have to try it out. I'm just not allowed to go in there. It's a very intimate place, your vessel. Only you and your inner holiness is allowed in there. As far as I know, there may be some other people that their gift allows that to happen. It hasn't happened with me. Yes. Okay.
A couple questions.
Yeah.
First one is about belief. And then putting it into context in society, isn't there a huge dichotomy or conflict? What thoughts does Dr. Dan have on that? And then part two, what are the two things that Dan said to remember?
Well, let's do those first. Yeah, the first thing is to learn how to become a practitioner of Christ consciousness. Because that's really the keys to the jail you're looking for. Get out of this, get out of the box. You have to learn how to become a practitioner of Christ consciousness. And the second thing is to work on your vessel. That it is the ascension model of healing that it really it addresses not only to make ourselves healthier and more sound emotionally and mentally, but it allows us to become the being that we were created to be. And that's a holy being. So, working on that, on the ascension process through the parable of Christ consciousness, that's the meat of what we're talking about tonight. And so I hope that answers that part of it. Now, back to belief. The best definition I ever heard for belief, it's an opinion with conviction about what you don't know. And it's kind of nuts, but that's the way it really is. And the thing about belief, because it comes from the negative ego, the ego of wartime, I'm going to call that the negative ego. That's why things get crazy when beliefs are clashing. And these are just programmings of, I guess the most classical model of that would be, people in different religions and stuff, they clash and they disagree about this, that, or the other. But it's belief. And belief because it's coming from your ego, you defend it, even though you have it about what you don't know. It's kind of nuts. I would call it nuts. But that's, it's something that, it's a human condition. Belief is a human condition, and I definitely don't want to offend anybody's religion or anything of that nature. So I won't go any further. Everybody has to start where they're at. Wherever you are, there's a next step for you. It is amazing when you look at religion. The Muslim and the Judaism was created in the second paradigm, Christianity in the third. And to their credit, I've never seen anything more effective of raising people out of the first and second paradigm than religion. And in our world today, those people in the first and second paradigm, they're usually locked up in jail, or they're headed that direction. One is death, killing, and war, and two is robbing, stealing, cheating, lying. Politics is second. And then third dimension is gossip, conversation, criticism, self-pity. It's less lethal, but it's still negative. But anything that can make people go up in consciousness, so, each one of these steps, if they're logarithms, and it means that the second paradigm is 10 times more conscious than the first. The third paradigm is 10 times more conscious than the second. Each step up the ladder increases your consciousness by 10 times. So, it doesn't sound like, it's kind of like a Richter scale. There's a big difference between a 3 and a 2 earthquake. Big difference in these paradigms. And so it's a blessing anytime you can go to the next level. And there's 177 million light workers on this earth, and their purpose is to raise people that are in the range of their gift up to the next rung on the ladder. There's people in religion that are very devoted to their path, that go out in these prisons and things and do their ministry, and I'm very grateful for that because it raises those people up the ladder. And then there's other people that take them up higher, and then other people that take them from there. And it's a incredible group of light workers that are working on the plan of grand design, which is really all about ascending the planet and all the people on it. And the other day I was in Texas, and a lady gave me a computer-generated newsletter by a Jewish prophet that was all into the end of days. He come from some Jewish book. I always butcher it up really bad. I try to say the name of it, but there's some book in the Jewish faith where they have all this prophecy based on 7-year cycles and all of this stuff, and and it was all about the end of days. And it dawned on me that what this is about, really, it's about the virus that invaded this earth as part of the downfall. It took us into these belief realms, is in the end of its days. And the cloaking of their own people, it makes the people be the way they are, but when you take the cloak off of them, people are fine. So it's not about people being put through the hamburger mill and sent to hell or something. It's about getting this virus stuff out of here. And when it's out of here, the Holy O is going to fill the void. And everything can be healed. Every person can become whole. Everybody is worthy of this and gets to be on this journey. So it includes everybody. To get the cloaking off of people, that would be. Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Or yes. The exponential numbers and stuff.
Yeah, whatever
Well, the we is the plan of grand design, and there are beings and councils from every level of the 9 clusters of the All That Is that's working on the ascension program to ascend this world. And it's not just this world. You see, when the downfall happened, this completed structure of the 9 clusters became incomplete. And it went far beyond just this universe that fell out of the cluster and this earth being disconnected from the 9 clusters. It meant that every aspect of the 9 cluster had become incomplete because it had lost a member, a part of its wholeness. It's kind of like you're a person, you got a whole body, and you lose your little toe or something. You become incomplete. It's even worse for the little toe, but it's bad for you too. So it's kind of like that. And so the plan of grand design has got some incredible crystal light beings beyond the level of their androgyne. And that's actually beyond the level of that you would normally associate with the God process. An androgyne, see, the God particle is actually the divine masculine. The Elohim particle is the divine feminine. And the human condition, our feminine and masculine, have been real fractured or real out of balance. People buy into any belief that'll give them the long end of the stick. And, like I had a brother-in-law one time that told me that men are supposed to watch football and women are supposed to cook and clean. And he's sitting here, my wife is sitting here. So I asked her if that was true. She didn't buy into that at all. Actually hit me. So
what are some of the characteristics of these higher paradigms, I think is the question?
Well, they're wonderful. They're wonderful. And you get on up and, the third and fourth dimension and the Holy O are about feeling connected to yourself and to others on earth, and you move on up into the fifth and sixth, and about having positive experiences in life and positive feelings as a result of those experiences with yourself and others. Move on up to the seventh and eighth, and you're into unconditional love with self and others. Ninth and tenth, to be able to understand your thoughts and feelings and to express them to others and feel confident that they got it right. That's not easy. And 11, and this moves right on up the paradigm, and they all are about wonderful aspects of the complexity of our life, and bringing all that back into a homogeneous whole as we put the whole thing together. It was several years we went on the journey of the paradigms coming into the Earth grid and what they were all about. And I forgot more of it than I remember.
Well, but as we integrate more of this into our beingness, then we begin to gain access to our gifted higher consciousness.
Yeah.
That we have not been able to access at this level of awareness. And Dan's reading of the crystal lattice indicates that there's 270 gifts of higher consciousness that will be coming online for us to evolve through this process.
Well, yes, you have a question?
Can people go back to the questions?
Yeah, I don't normally see that. I'm usually working on people that are going the other direction. They're interested in ascension work. So I'm sure there probably is some of that because, the society keeps, you keep getting more people on the psychiatric drugs and all of that stuff. So I'm sure there's an element of what you're saying there, but that's not my normal experience.
except to the extent that we can dip down ourselves.
Yeah, now people will go through healing crises, and they'll have some trials and tribulations to get through sometimes. Yes, that happens.
So if you have a daughter who is really struggling out of the blue with something pretty extreme, could it be that she's going through her own healing process?
Yeah, it sure could be. And there's nothing that would be more valuable to her than allowing her inner heart to be right at the top of the list of good. Okay, so we're gonna do a little demonstration here and do a blessing so everybody can see what that's like, and everybody will get zapped by this. It'll feel good to you. Okay.
So I'll get on the table and he'll touch me and my leg the audience. My inner holiness. That is. And for those of you that haven't had a treatment with me, if you're contemplating one, this is how it looks. So he's asking questions of my inner holiness and getting answers to changes in the length of my leg. Which is yes and which is no. Like if one goes long, it's yes, and if one goes short, it's no. How about if I scoot up and I'll hold it? Yeah.
Okay, there's a good reason, because the bottom of your shoe is flat and it's very easy to see the change of leg length. Your foot's all curvy and it's much more difficult. Okay. So I get her up here. Well, give me a yes. Her right leg goes short. Give me a no. Her left leg goes short. Hey, if I got the right person up here for this demonstration, please accept. Okay. So, do we need a divine directive lesson? Oh, we need a practice. Yes. Okay. Okay, this blessing that we're fixing to do is for everybody in here, everybody in the 9 clusters of the all that is. It's like a group healing blessing. And this is the very last blessing I did before I came on this trip. On Monday, I did this blessing. Yeah. It's called the Holy Oath Devotion of Ascension. Okay. This blessing for our lecture group and beings of the Holy Oath is orchestrated by the living holiness that beats our hearts and the servant with the practice to interface. O iota, O alpha, omega, O alpha, omega, O iota, omega, O iota, O alpha. blessing for all in attendance, which I'm going to call the group of the Holy O, or Holy O Divine Conductors. The group of the Holy O, or Holy O Divine Conductors. This blessing of the Holy O Divine Conductors, Oda, Alpha, Omega, bring forth through the plan of grand design the perfected Holy O devotion of ascension into the neutral zone through a plan of grand design, through a divine decree of O, to bring forth perfected merger in the O-ness through perfected O paradigm, portal of creation, to merge into O-ness with the now of creation, to merge into O-ness through the great seal of all knowing of O of creation. This great seal of all knowing to be applied to a triangle, which will metamorphose and become an universal Merkaba, and then merge into O-ness and bring forth Holy O Divine Conductors with the Holy O devotion of ascension and the nine cluster all that is, through the Holy O hologram, fractal, and microcosm of the Holy O, to purge, clear, heal, nurture, and support forevermore in the first corner of this triangle. The Holy O nine cluster of creation, the Holy O Akashic beam, and the Holy O unified field of the Holy O universal stargate now share the common O with Holy O devotion of ascension. This integrates 101 rays of O light to our 999th ley line and creates our sacred path of holy and creates our sacred path of holy divine healing that demonstrates our divine knowing and understanding through our expression of Holy O love, joy, and inner peace, through the Holy O gray ray and anchors in our pituitary gland. In the second corner of this triangle, the Holy O soul, the Holy O Akashic beam, and the Holy O unified field. The Holy O galactic stargate now share the common O with Holy O devotion of ascension. This creates an axis of rotation that connects each 15 component homogeneous same to the 69th dimensional universe of divine intervention and the sacred portal of Miglio-Megrius. This blesses us with eternal life, love, harmony, and compassion. All is well, and we love it and cherish it through the Holy O blue ray and anchors in our crystal pyramids. In the third corner of this triangle, the Holy O Spirit, the Holy O Akashic beam, and the Holy O unified field. The Holy O cosmic stargate now share the common O with Holy O devotion of ascension. This fills our crystal lattice with the 70 expressions of Holy O love and creates Holy O pure perfection in the 15 systems of our flesh, our Earth star, and shares a common O with our soul star. Our Shambhala is saturated with Holy O love, light, and light forevermore through the Holy O brown ray and anchors in our root chakra, with Holy O divine conductors in the middle. This great seal of all knowing to merge into O-ness through the threefold flame of our hearts, of our rainbow gold and emerald violet crystal light of creation, to merge into O-ness through Perfectionator Merkaba, Holy Universe, 22 coordinated groups of O-Universe of creation, to merge into O-ness through perfected bookends of our 15 paths of ascension, of Holy O underworlds through Holy O saying of creation. Bring forth perfected manifestation of Holy O divine conductor with Holy O devotion of ascension in the nine cluster all that is, through the Holy O, hologram, fractal, and microcosm of the Holy O, with inner feelings of truth, unwavering, and compassion, all to be brought forth into this reality of this earth. In our lives, and more than 800 trillion plus expressions of our life, in perfected holographic, Holy O fractal, and microcosm of the Holy O. Anointed with clear octave sandstone crystal light, light of Divine Mother, light of Goddess, light of Melchizedek, clear octave ruby red crystal light, clear octave violet crystal light, clear octave emerald crystal light, clear turquoise crystal light, clear magenta crystal light, clear yellow-coise crystal light, clear red crystal light, clear blue sky crystal light, clear silver crystal light, clear crystal light, clear white crystal light, clear rainbow crystal light, clear golden crystal light, clear blue crystal light, clear purple crystal light, clear violet crystal light, clear emerald crystal light, clear green crystal light, clear pink crystal light, clear octave orange crystal light, and 101 rays of O light with feelings of delight, tranquility, and happiness, moral, passion, and cherish, reliable, jovial, and good, firm, unwavering, and glad, relation, loyal, and steadfast, contented, hopeful, and compatibility, peace, sensitive, and creative, the element of joy, the illumination of O light, and the radiance of divine presence of Goddess, nurture, purifying, elevate this perfected fractal code of the Holy Ghost into its very highest balance, harmony, joy, happiness, peace, love, compassion, structure, function, morphology, physiology, through the authority and the orchestration of the living Goddess that beats your heart. This perfected fractal code of the Holy O goes into the hall of records of our being, attracting all things like it as it establishes its dominion in its perfection and the life expression. The Holy O divine conductors, connecting amen and holy. It is God. Right. Everybody got that real good? All right. So, anybody got any questions about it? You can go up.
I actually thought my time was cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting walking back to you, too.
The question is about how you do it on the phone.
Yeah, when we're on the phone, my wife is usually on the table. Yeah, she tunes to you in about 5 seconds. And so it's, when we do phone sessions, you're like knocked out on the recliner or on the couch or laying on your bed or whatever. And it's just like I'm at your feet. I'm just using my wife's feet. But it works real good. I've had a clientele I've worked on for years I've never met.
Well,
I've met.
We've all done phone sessions,
okay.
So. Benny.
Yeah. So they work real good, too.
And I'll kick about just as much as doing here.
So, Dan, you speak this and you issue a divine decree, if I understand how this process works, but you might want to explain that.
Yeah. My little process is I do a reading on the inscriptions of the crystal lattice of your spirit body, and then your inner holiness will choose the blessings of divine decree. That's what these are. The divine decree is the third cluster, actually, of the 9. And they're very powerful. You can change lots of things when you do divine decrees.
So when you issue a divine decree, it is a command.
It is a It's a holy command.
It's a holy command, so it must be. That's why these are effective simply by him speaking them, because he's working with his inner holiness through your inner holiness and issuing it as a divine decree. Right?
Yeah, that's right. That's how it works. Your inner holiness, it does the whole thing, really. I'm just a servant that uses the gift that I have to do the will of your inner holiness. So it's really that simple. And I hope lots of y'all do similar things, and the gifts that you have will grow and become more. It's amazing how that happens. Things will open up, transform. If you got a gift, wear it out, and you'll get another one. And they just keep upgrading continuously. There's no end to it. So you're not ever going to get bored.
And that's why, because Dan uses his gift all the time, that it continues to grow and evolve. So it was just a few years ago we were working at the third paradigm level and then advancing to the fourth and the fifth and up to the 12th, and then it's quantum leaps, and we're at 999 to the power of 7. Now we're at clusters of realities that go beyond anything our mortal mind could even comprehend, and we're reconnecting those, and we're working at the levels of our subconscious and our unconscious energetic bodies and cells, which we have no mental comprehension of, but which have a dramatic impact on our life experience and expression. So the work continues to expand and deepen, and the healing and growth that can result from that is exponential.
You can't even remember how you was 2 years ago. I mean, it's a trip. Time means nothing once you get into this stuff. It'll change really quick, and it's good that you don't remember that stuff. You're in the moment, and it's in the now your joy and happiness lives. So.
And this is a process that we are all going through, and we will continue to go through, because we are in the process of redesigning our own divinity. We were always intended to live as holy beings and not live the life of suffering, pain, and misery that we've lived, and we're letting that go. And we are creating a new world and a new earth and a new life experience for us, and it comes from within us through practicing the Christ consciousness process and surrendering to your inner holiness and letting it direct your life and not your ego. So he's identified a beautifully easy way to navigate this process that works for everybody.
To the end, are y'all through? Had enough of this? All right. Well, you've been a very gracious group. It's been a total joy to share with you this evening. So I'll say goodbye to everyone on the phone. Goodbye. And thanks for being with us. And until next time, be at the group healing Sunday. And what time is that group healing?
That'll be at 2:30 Eastern Daylight Time.
Okay, that's when we'll get started with a 30-minute talk. And then at 3 o'clock, we will have our group healing. And we welcome everybody to come be a part of this. So good night.